What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, July 6th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 12:30 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and from Eastern Europe. Right now we have a U.S. nuclear war command and control plane up in the air over Oklahoma. It just took off from its home base in Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, which is very unusual for a Sunday afternoon. And what's very concerning is over the last 48 hours, we had encrypted data being transmitted by U.S. nuclear forces, and it was very loud in radio stations in Europe. So for some reason, U.S. nuclear forces are on very high alert. They've been transmitting encrypted data on their primary nuclear war frequency all weekend, and now we have a nuclear war command and control plane up in the air. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. You can get 3 months of emergency food, 2,000 calories a day for just $500. That's $200 off their normal price with free shipping included. This food has a shelf life of 25 years, and it's a variety of different types of food. So if you use the link preparewithnyprepper.com, you can save $200 on their 3-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. That's preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. Now, in addition to that, we have some aerial refueler activity over the Persian Gulf and Saudi Arabia. What's interesting is one of these refuelers left a bomber base in Spain and is now heading to the Persian Gulf or Qatar. And then we also have one U.S. refueler flying back and forth along the coastline of Iran in the Persian Gulf. So something is brewing over here. And Iran has closed its airspace completely, which is very strange because they just signed a ceasefire with Israel, or they didn't sign one, but they agreed to a ceasefire. So Iran's entire airspace has been closed for the last 5 days or so. And the IAEA, that's the UN Nuclear Watchdog Agency, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is asking all of its inspectors to leave Iran immediately for some reason. And yesterday there was a massive internet outage in Iran reported across the entire country. And we know that the U.S. president is going to be meeting with the Israeli president tomorrow on Monday. The Israeli president will be arriving in Washington, D.C. later tonight, and he will be meeting with the U.S. president tomorrow. So I would not be surprised if the U.S. and Israel launch another round of strikes on Iran, possibly going for the regime this time, possibly striking more nuclear bunkers and missile bunkers. We'll have to wait and see. And Japan's government warned of more strong earthquakes near Kyushu after over 1,000 tremors were reported in the last 2 weeks. So something is going on in Japan. They've been having these tremors over 5.0 in magnitude, thousands of them in the last 2 weeks, which could be a sign of a massive earthquake brewing near Japan. The last big earthquake in Japan was 2011. They had that 9.0 magnitude earthquake, which was absolutely catastrophic. Created a tsunami over 50 feet tall. Absolutely insane footage from that. And the U.S. president said he was very disappointed following a phone call with the Russian president on July 3rd because he saw no evidence that the Russian president intends to end the war in Ukraine. Okay, so the U.S. president not happy with the Russian president, saying no evidence that he wants to end the war. And the Ukrainian president spoke with the U.S. president as well and said the conversation with the U.S. president was probably the best we've ever had, and that there is a willingness to help with Patriot missiles. Okay, so the U.S. president is interested in providing Ukraine with Patriot missiles now. And the Ukrainian president also said the U.S. and Ukraine agreed to boost joint drone production. Ukraine will receive hundreds of thousands of drones this year, including priority interceptor models, and even more next year. So I'm assuming these interceptor drones can intercept the Russian drones, but looks like some kind of joint drone production agreement with the U.S. and Ukraine. And the U.S. president said Ukraine is going to need Patriots for defense. He said, I don't want to see people killed. We might send them. We are looking at it. And we're also hearing that U.S. fighter jets intercepted some kind of an aircraft that flew over the U.S. president's New Jersey golf resort. Very interesting. And the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, said if China wanted to invade Taiwan, Xi Jinping could ask the Russian president to attack Europe to keep NATO busy in Europe, basically open a front with Europe while they attack Taiwan. And the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei, made his first public appearance yesterday in several weeks. Here he is. You can see he looks pretty healthy. He looks normal. So it doesn't look like Iran has really been rattled too hard by this U.S. strike on their nuclear facilities and by the Israeli strikes. And that's why I think Israel and the U.S. are going to do another round of strikes, because Iran has not learned their lesson. Okay, I think that Israel and the U.S. wanted to do like a very scaled back response, a scaled back attack, just to show Iran that they can do more. And they didn't go all out, but Iran hasn't learned their lesson, and they're still talking about more enrichment, moving their nuclear facilities to other places, their nuclear material. So I think we're going to see the U.S. and Israel strike again, and this time they may go after Khamenei himself. They may strike with nuclear weapons, tactical nukes. We'll have to wait and see. But that could happen as soon as this week, okay, after the U.S. president meets with the Israeli president. After they meet in person, they may decide on further strikes, more aggressive strikes this time. And Sweden and Denmark have joined Germany in requiring insurance documents from tankers passing through their waters in the Baltic Sea in an effort to crack down on Russia's shadow fleet. So this could potentially lead to a war between Europe and Russia, is that the European countries are now basically forcing the Russian ships that go through their waters into the Baltic Sea to reach Kaliningrad to provide documentation. They're stopping them and questioning them. And so that could lead to a war between Russia and Europe. And the U.S. president said the Russian president is concerned about sanctions on Russia. The U.S. president also said there may be an agreement on Gaza next week. The U.S. president also said Iran does not agree to inspections and refuses to abandon enrichment, and that Iran may resume its nuclear program at a different site. So the U.S. president is aware that Iran is not agreeing to new inspections. Remember, they just passed that law saying that they're not going to cooperate with the IAEA anymore, and they're refusing to abandon enrichment. So the U.S. president is not going to like that. And during the night, the Houthi rebels in Yemen launched another missile towards Israel, which was intercepted by Israeli air defenses. And the largest nuclear power plant in Europe has been completely cut off from external power following Russian strikes. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine has lost all external electrical supply and has switched to emergency diesel generators. This happened after a strike damaged the power line connecting the plant to Ukraine's energy grid. Okay, so this is very, very concerning. This massive nuclear power plant in Ukraine, it has 6 nuclear reactors. That's like 6 Chernobyls. Okay, think of how bad Chernobyl was. And the Chernobyl reactor, that was just one reactor that melted down, and it sent a radiation cloud all the way to Sweden and Western Europe. Imagine 6 of these reactors melting down. Okay, so this power plant, although it is a power plant and can generate its own electricity, it needs also extra electricity to keep certain things functioning, specifically the cooling system. Okay, if that cooling system is interrupted, the power plant will melt down. Okay, so this is very, very concerning. All external electricity supply has been cut off to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It is now running on diesel generators. Wow. And there were reports of a Ukrainian drone attack on the Russian bomber base in Saratov, the Angels 2 bomber base. There was another drone attack over the weekend. So the Ukrainians going after that bomber base again. And the Ukrainian drones also attacked a Russian military industrial facility in the Chuvash Republic. And according to Israeli Channel 12, Israel's attacks on Iran during the 12-day war included strikes on chemical and biological sites in Iran. Among the targets was the Shahid Meysami facility in Karaj, which the report claimed was involved in the production of the nerve agent sarin. Wow. And radar data seen by the Telegraph suggests that Iranian missiles directly struck 5 Israeli military facilities during the recent 12-day war. The Israeli government has not disclosed the strikes, and reporting on them within Israel is restricted due to strict military censorship laws. According to the data, the strikes hit the Tel Naf base, Camp Ziparit, Beit Nehemiah, Erta, and Camp Glilat. Okay, so very serious, guys. The Iranians were able to penetrate a lot of Israeli territory with their missiles. And Russian channels are reporting that the Ukrainian Secret Service has eliminated the commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Wow. And the Pentagon spokesman commented on the suspension of aid to Ukraine. He said the Department of Defense continues to provide the president with robust options regarding military aid to Ukraine, consistent with his goal of bringing this tragic war to an end. The department is rigorously examining and adapting its approach towards achieving the objective, while also preserving U.S. military readiness and defense priorities, he said. Also, the State Department spokesperson said the latest U.S. decision on arms supplies to Ukraine does not mean a complete end to military aid to Ukraine, okay? And speaking of Ukraine, what you're looking at here is a picture showing the skyline of the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, and you can see half the city is on fire, essentially, after this massive drone and missile attack. And this is why the U.S. president is frustrated with the Russian president, because the Russian president is just trying to buy time, and he's telling the U.S. president what he wants to hear, and meanwhile he's continuing to attack Ukraine, and the attacks are getting bigger and bigger, okay? They're not getting smaller. And according to the main Directorate of Intelligence for the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Russia is currently attempting to draw Laos and other partner nations into their war against Ukraine alongside North Korea, who has already deployed up to 12,000 soldiers to Russia's western border with Ukraine. As part of the ongoing effort, the Kremlin is said to be organizing the initial deployment of roughly 50 combat engineers with the Laos People's Armed Forces to the Kursk Oblast of Western Russia under the guise of a humanitarian mission in support of the Russian armed forces. Additionally, the main Directorate of Intelligence of Ukraine reports that Laos is providing free assistance to Russia by conducting rehab programs for wounded servicemen who participated in combat operations against Ukraine. Wow. So very interesting. And the Italian Prime Minister said the U.S. continues to support Ukraine, revising only part of the supplies. And the Pentagon will no longer disclose specific details about the quantities or types of weapons sent to Ukraine. Now, that is very, very smart. And North Korea will send up to 30,000 additional troops to help Russia, according to Ukrainian intelligence. And NASA has confirmed that an alien rock 12 miles wide will pass through the solar system at 152,000 miles per hour, but will miss Earth and pass close to Mars and the Sun. Very concerning. And the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte commented on the U.S. decision to stop shipments of critically important air defense missiles to Ukraine. He said, "I totally understand that the U.S. always has to make sure that their own interests are covered, but when it comes to Ukraine in the short term, Ukraine cannot do without all the support it can get when it gets to ammunition and to air defense systems. We cannot do without the practical U.S. support. This is also in the U.S. interest for Ukraine not to lose this war, and having a huge Russia now on the border of Europe, and of course a secure Europe also means a secure U.S., so this is all completely connected." And the U.S. State Department said it is unacceptable for Iran to choose to suspend cooperation with the IAEA. Iran must cooperate fully and without delay with the IAEA. So this is why the U.S. president is annoyed with Iran, okay, because he held back during his attack on Fordow. He could have went a lot harder, and he wanted to basically give them a chance, and now they're basically doubling down, and they're kicking the IAE out. So that's why I think we're going to strike again, possibly as soon as this week. And according to Israeli Hayom, Saudi Arabia secretly aided Israel's defense against Iran despite publicly condemning Israeli strikes. Riyadh provided radar data, shared intelligence, and opened northern airspace for Israeli aircraft, helping intercept Iranian missiles and drones. And Khan News is reporting that Israel is holding secret high-level talks with Russia to reach a diplomatic solution on Iran and Syria amid the current ceasefire with Iran. And Israeli News 12 is reporting that if there's no ceasefire deal in Gaza, that Israel plans to take over the entire Gaza Strip. And Saudi Arabia officially deployed their THAAD system after completing training with 7 batteries and 44 launchers. And Germany is preparing to introduce a voluntary 6-month military service scheme to boost its reserve forces and strengthen national defense. And the CEO of SpaceX and X said the U.S. president will bankrupt the country in a response he posted on social media after the U.S. president signed the big, beautiful bill. This comes after the CEO of SpaceX officially announced that he plans to launch his own political party called the America Party starting in 2026. Wow. And what you're looking at here is a U.S. Navy recon drone that was flying in the Persian Gulf yesterday, keeping an eye on Iran. And then we also had this Russian VIP plane leave Nicaragua, and then it went to Cuba, and then from Cuba, it went back to Russia. So some kind of Russian VIP visiting Nicaragua and Cuba. That is very, very concerning. We know that Cuba and Nicaragua are communist countries and strong allies of Russia, and there are submarine bases in Nicaragua and Cuba for the Russians to dock their subs. So, this is right in our backyard, and Russia could have armed submarines that could hit Florida and the Gulf states from Nicaragua and Cuba. And we still have that Russian satellite orbiting over the U.S. every single day, multiple times a day, that potentially has an EMP weapon on board. I'm going to continue to monitor that satellite, and you can tune into my 24/7 live stream on YouTube. It's running right now if you want continuous updates and to listen to our nuclear forces. But I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. I hope you're having a great 4th of July weekend. And check me out on Patreon for ad-free updates posted before I post them to YouTube. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.